Hey there, all you WordPress monkeys out there. What we're going to do is we're going to do something kind of like this on our homepage. So we're going to create, they call them kind of a call to action, where you're asking them to do something. Of course, we're not actually asking anyone to do anything. We'll fix that in a moment. In the meanwhile, we're going to create these three little evenly spaced windows to put on our homepage to sort of highlight the categories and the content on our site. So what this is going to do is it's going to, each one of these windows is going to pull from a different category. So we have elements of design, WordPress development, HTML, and of course, whatever your WordPress site has, you'll have your own categories. And if you look down here, we can see some of the categories I've created on my WordPress site. So there you see some of those. And there's a random category of students, but that was just for me. Anyway. So inside of these, what we're going to do is we're going to use Bootstrap to be able to make these evenly spaced windows. And we're going to use some PHP and the loop to grab each of these items here. Okay, then we're going to have a button at the bottom using Bootstrap. Now, I'm not sure why this button looks the way it does. Maybe when we go around and try this today, I'll have a better looking button. All right, so here we go. We're going to go ahead and begin. Now, this is what I did the other day. I had to test it out. So I'm actually going to delete all my changes. Here we go. So here's the site without those fun little loops, and this looks more like a general page you might see on a WordPress site, right? So, but we want to spice up our home page to look better, so that's why we're going to add those loops in here. All right, so let's go take a look at our index page, because that's where we're going to do our work. I want to remind you that index.php is the file that is for the home page by default, and you can actually change that in WordPress, but that's for a different tutorial. So today what we're going to do is we're going to create a div to hold those highlights. And one of the things we should always do whenever you're creating HTML and you're trying to figure out, well, how are we going to use it, div's a good one. And since we're going to say it's going to highlight it, we're going to give it a class of highlights. And then that particular class, we can later on in our CSS target this particular div and style it differently. Give it a different background, change the border around it, whatever we want to do. Okay, now from here, we're going to put a row fluid inside. And we just do that. That's the standard Bootstrap idea, where you have a containing div, you give it a row fluid, and it will be become that outer div that holds everything in. Now, for the inside, we're going to create, instead of another div, we're going to create an unordered list, and we're going to use the Bootstrap's thumbnail class. So if you create an unordered list and you give it a class of thumbnails, this will work just like a row fluid inside. So inside of our unordered list, we have to decide how many list items we're going to put in there. We could do 2 or 3. If we were to do just 2, you do an li and a class. And remember, what you do is you put in a span class, and in the span class, you decide, is it span 1, 2, 3, all the way up to 12. They all have to add up to 12. So if we were to just do 2 list items, each list item would have a span of 6. You add them together, and they become 12. They will fill out the entire unordered list as well as this outer div with the class of row fluid. Okay, so this is kind of the outer area we're going to put inside a header. It should be a header 2 or a header 3. I think I did a header 3, so we'll put that way. You might want to take a look at your page. If you're already using header 2s, then this should probably be a header 3. If the only next largest one you have is a header 1, then you might want to put that in as a header 1. For example, what I might do is put something like this, put a header 2 in here, and then put site highlights. Now, there's the possibility by injecting a tag inside a row fluid directly like this, it may break our system. But my understanding of the Bootstrap, if I'm correct, is that this class of thumbnails will behave like a row fluid and it shouldn't get messed up. But if it does, this will be our reason for it. Okay, so we'll do here, create our headers. Now you can take each category that you're going to do. Now I'm going to do 3 categories. So I'm going to change the span 6 to a span 4 so that each one ends up being the same. So I'm going to just go ahead and copy that and paste it in. One thing you might want to do in WordPress is create all of your HTML markup first and then figure out where your PHP tags need to go. And that's not a bad idea. The other thing is we're just going to identify each category in a header 3. So let's take a look at our categories we're going to do again. They are elements of design, HTML, and I think the other one I was going to do is WordPress Development. So we'll put each of those in. I'll put WordPress Development first. You choose how you want to do it. Put a little HTML in there, and then we'll do elements of design. And the idea here is we're going to pull the most recent post out of each of these categories. We need to use the loop in order to do that. So after our header inside of here, what we're going to do is we are going to put in the thumbnail if we have it. Most of that's going to be done using PHP because it will create the tag. And so for now, what we could do is we could give a div with the class of thumbnail. In fact, actually, we want to surround. We want to put even that H3 inside of that. So I apologize. And then our header 3 is inside of there. And we could put a div. And we could give it a class of thumbnail image if we have a div. Then we can style that any way we want. We can play around with that. Next, we're going to have a paragraph for an excerpt. And I'm putting the excerpt goes here as my placeholder. And then after our excerpt, we're going to create a button. We'll give it a class of BTN. And we'll put a call to action. Goes here. Okay. We have the div with the class of thumbnail. We need to make sure we close that one. So I'm going to close it. And here's where tabbing can really be beneficial because inside of my highlights, although technically that should be all tabbed over, so let's go ahead and fix that. Actually, that does not need to be tabbed over now that I think about it. Shift tab moves it back. There we go. So we have a div outside, anything inside a container like a div, tab over once. So header 2 is tabbed over. The unordered list is tabbed over also. Okay, so inside of each, so now I kind of like messed things up a little bit here because I went ahead and created all these divs and extra tags here, and it's probably better just to replace what's inside of the list items, just like I did there. And let's just do this. Tab, paste. Okay, now we're going to change all that. So this will now be HTML, and this will be elements of design. Okay, so this is our HTML on the outside. Now what we need to do is put in all of our PHP and automate what we were doing here.